North Carolina's home for real arts, real lineage, real training. This is Jason here at RMAA, and today we'll be discussing ACT. ACT is a simple little acronym I like to use when thinking of how to prepare or survive an attack style situation. ACT simply stands for assess, counter, and terminate. From a preventative standpoint, you always want to be assessing your environment. This means using some gut instincts and situational awareness skills. Now, we'll get into situational awareness at a later date and time, but for now, listen to your gut. When you're walking down the road and you see something or someone that you don't like, there's a good reason for it. Listen to that. Don't wait for something to happen. Act first. Now, this reminds me of a story told by John Stevens in a book called Invincible Warrior. The story is about Yeshiva, the founder of Aikido. One of his students asked him one time, had he ever been defeated? Yeshiva was talking about one time when he went on a trip with his teacher and he was carrying his teacher's bags. He was so lost in thought that he almost bumped into an old lady. Now to Yeshiva, this was a major defeat. Now for us, it would be great if bumping into somebody was all we had to worry about. But for now, what you need to think of is you have to be hyper vigilant and aware of your surroundings. Prevent something before it's even given the chance to happen. Remember, attackers are looking for victims. They don't want to risk getting their ass kicked either. So they're not going to try to attack somebody that's paying attention to what's going on around them. A counter is obviously your response to a situation, but it's also more than that. It's the preparation, the getting ready before the situation even happens. There's an old saying that you win in the gym and not in the ring. What we're talking about here is when you're training, you train moves so you can find out which ones work for your body type and which ones don't. You have to understand these moves and know them in and out. Don't waste your time in a gym practicing fancy moves. What's going to happen is you're going to be out on the street trying to do some spinning back kick, and your body's going to shut down. Years of genetics have ingrained certain mechanisms into your psyche so you don't allow yourself to get hurt. So when you spin your back and one foot comes up in the air and you're off balance, you're going to hesitate and this guy's going to run your ass over and hand it to you. Now, this brings me also to the psychological side of things when you're training. If you're defensive in nature, don't bullshit yourself and act like you're some aggressive tough guy and practice moves that are offensive. Embrace your nature and learn how to be a great defensive fighter. Don't lie to yourself because this is only going to get you killed. So basically, know your toolbox, know your psyche, understand what it is to deal with one person, multiple people, and weapons. Preparation is the key here into a good counter. Let's say a physical confrontation is unavoidable. You're going to have to know how to terminate this. First, what you should do is try to think of a verbal method, in a sense, to de-escalate or talk the situation down so it doesn't even begin with. This is better for you physically and legally. You don't want to take the chance to see if your technique's going to work on the street because you might end up dead. Secondly, if it does work and you actually manage to defend yourself, you might find yourself on the losing end of a legal lawsuit. So at all costs, try to verbally talk yourself out of this. Don't worry about your ego. It's better to go home and not end up sued. Now let's look, say you do have to fight or defend yourself. You want to make sure that from the initial time that you engage with somebody, that you take control from that first touch and they never regain it. This way you can terminate the fight. There's no back and forth like what you see in the movies. If that happens, you're in deep shit. Every second that you waste going back and forth, it could mean your life or the life of a loved one. So you have to make sure that you are comfortable that the second somebody moves on you, you can take control and end the situation. Will your techniques do this? If not, you better find out what in the hell you're doing wrong. You need to reevaluate why you're training, what you're training in, who you're training with. Look at it this way. If you can't even make up a mental scenario of an attack and actually walk yourself through it without having doubts about what you're doing, you're in deep shit and you're going to end up dead. So like I said, reevaluate what you're doing, because you have to make sure that you are comfortable and physically capable of engaging with somebody, taking immediate control so they can't come back with a second attack, and terminating the situation. Hopefully ACT will help you out. Keep these in mind: assess, counter, terminate when you're thinking about a self-defense situation or when you're training. Best of luck, and we'll see you next week.